Chris, Xavier Watts. So if you want to go him, he's plus 10,000.
10,000. Yeah, I knew it was a pretty high one.
So yeah, that's definitely one I'll throw a few shekels on because I'm with you, especially with Raheem Morris in that Atlanta backfield. That's the secondary player who could get some turnovers and could actually pay off. So I like that one quite a bit for a dart throw. All right, let's move to. So we move to rookies. So let's move to defensive player and offensive player of the year. Chris, I'm going to go right back to you. Who are you interested in taking a shot on a defensive player of the year?
So defensive player of the year, and they talked about defense. This is one of my favorites, Dan, because it's so wide open. I think there's so many opportunities, but usually leaning towards a defensive lineman for the most part because it seems to kind of be the ones that have won recently. You need those kind of sacks to kind of do it for yourself. So I have two for you. For a guy who I think fits that mold could be Bosa. We talked about 49ers kind of resurgence. Why can't Bosa plus 1,600 be part of that? I think if he's healthy, he's one of the most dominant defensive linemen out there. We talk about Myles Garrett, talk about other guys out there. Well, Bosa to me is one of those guys who is one of the best. It's just as good as Watt, just as good as anybody else you talk about. And a team that thinks improved, I like Joey Bosa's opportunity to win Defensive Player of the Year.
Nick Bosa, but but
damn it! Thank you.
He keeps doing it. The one thing I will say, what Nick Bosa has been held back by since he's won Defensive Player of the Year. Remember, he's already won that award a couple years ago. Is that he hasn't been able to get in the situation where he's been able to get one-on-ones. He should have that opportunity this year. So I do like that pick. And Chris, to your overall point, because I wanted to point this out, it usually is a defensive lineman. I mean, last year it was Patrick Surtain. I get that. But that was the first time in 5 years that it wasn't a pass rusher. Like, it's usually going to be a pass rusher because of the impact they make on the game. So Max Crosby at plus 1,600, who's the heart and soul of that Raiders defense, and could easily get 15 to 20 sacks in a single season. Especially, I like him in Pete Carroll's scheme. Okay, I don't know how great talented the Raiders defense is going to be, but I like the scheme for Max Crosby. I think they'll have an identity and something to work around. That MVPs, like, I know defensive players don't get MVPs. Is there anybody who's more of an MVP for his defense than Max Crosby right now? I don't think there is. So I think it gives him a really great shot at winning Defensive Player of the Year. Adam, you got one?
Yeah, let me throw you a really similar situation in a lot of ways, and that's Trey Hendrickson. 17 and a half sacks back-to-back seasons.
For the UFL? Because when he doesn't sign his contract for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Well, I was going to say, if he is, and I'm going to be careful with my language here, there's a word that I'd love to say, but if he is irked with his team, look, we've seen guys have their best career seasons in contract years when they're mad at their team a billion times in the NFL. So a guy who's already flirted with 20 sacks back-to-back years, I could see this being the year, especially we've seen the talent around him dissipate to the point where, look, he's going to be pinning his ears back all game long if he's still on Cincinnati because they're going to be trying to pass rush in shootouts all year long. Like, that's just the reality of what the Bengals are going to do because the offense is going to keep humming and that defense is going to give up points. It's going to be shootout after shootout, and that's great for pumping up sack totals. You have the alternative option with him where, I mean, look, there's unknowns and that does impact his value, but the reality is, okay, what's the worst case? Oh, he's being talked about being traded to a bunch of contenders where he will also put up good numbers, but he will do it in the national spotlight as well and potentially have better